Talk 49.
Annemarie from Venus Frequency. Welcome on board Tram 49.
Thank you so much and good morning.
Annemarie, you are an expert in yoga. How did yoga come about in your life? What led you to yoga?
Oh, I always tell the story that I was living in New York and watching Sex and the City as one of my favorite TV shows. And the Sex and the City girls were going to yoga, so I started to go to yoga too. That's it. It was hip and cool and happening.
Hip, cool and happening. How did it feel the first time getting up off the mat? How did it feel? Did something come upon you as a great feeling?
I think I was kind of immediately hooked. It was in my 20s, in the 90s in New York. And I was always, I think, a seeker in some ways. And yoga all of a sudden combined that physical movement with also giving space and opening up for the connection of mind, body, and giving space for not just opening the body, but also giving space for emotions and mental fluctuations. So you're training not just the body, but also the mind.
You mentioned the word seeker. You were a seeker. Is your path through yoga a journey of seeking the right yoga for you, maybe?
But yoga is, it's in the Western world, it's so much seen as a physical practice, and it gets put into, which is great in some ways, it gets put into fitness studios, and it gets mixed up with whatever cardio exercises, and it's being put into the exercise and aerobics Schublade. But it is not, it is truly a lifestyle that combines the right words that you choose, the right food that you eat, the right association, the right texts that you read, and it becomes, it's anchored into also a philosophy. And that's where, it's great that I also started in New York at Crunch Fitness, where yoga was being offered. And it was kind of like the doorway and the path that led me to a new sense of lifestyle, a more mindfulness that is packaged in to that practice.
Philosophy, you mentioned philosophy. Where did this yoga philosophy originate? Where did it come from originally?
The Vedic texts that were written down about 3,500 years ago. So most likely they were orally transported before even being written down. We have the Vedic texts, the Vedas, there are 4 of them, that then lead into great texts like the Upanishads, and then into Mahabharata that contains the Bhagavad Gita. So the philosophy is ancient, and yoga again is there described as a life philosophy, that one part of it is the physical practice, the asanas, to cleanse and to upkeep and to maintain and keep your body alive, so that also transforms your mind into the same qualities: aliveness, clarity, freshness in life, and not getting dull and stiff and stuck. So the body that you carry that has been given to you as a rental vehicle for life is being maintained by you, and you can practice the kindness, the love, the awe and inspiration right here, right now.
You mentioned the Veda texts. This sounds very futuristic as well. Has this anything to do with Darth Vader, or is that something completely different? Probably.
Kind of. It's funny because, and I have not had the love for Star Wars, but it's being said so often that actually Yoda is a complete Buddhist awakened mind, and that a lot of Darth Veda, but a lot of Star Wars is based on some of these Vedic texts and scriptures. And there are also people who totally dissect it and see the parallels. And so Darth Veda, I think, might be coming from somewhere of these Vedic texts as well.
Darth Vader definitely has a lot to do with the universe. Yoga preaches universe. You get your power from the universe. How big a part does the universe as such play in yoga?
The universe plays a huge part in yoga, because yoga means to yoke, to combine, to see the wholeness of not just your body, mind, emotion, and emotions, and are working together as spirituality being one, but we also see the universe as one. It's the surrender to becoming aware that you as an individual are divine and beautiful, but that you are part of a bigger concept. And you can call it God, you can call it the absolute, you can call it all kinds of other names, whatever works for you, the big teacher, the all in all. So it all stems from one source, and we are all one unity together. So we see the universe as one big interaction and reaction. Our actions will have a reaction, and also in the universe that works. We see the universe as breathing in and out, expanding and deflating, just the same way as you can observe it within yourself, inhaling and exhaling.
You talked about we're living in a body that we've borrowed. It's like a rental car, you said. I think we've got to give it back in more or less the same condition we got it. And yoga helps very much in healing. Could you talk about yoga and healing, so at least we can keep our bodies, in a sense, as good as we can, healing?
And we don't give it back in perfect condition. It's just like anything in life. We do become, over life, also dented cans, and there's wear and tear that, and we see it also in yogic philosophy, to become to understand we're not the body, we're not the mind. Ultimately, behind it, there is our spirit soul, our Purusha, that is divine and connected to divinity. In terms of healing, it is the philosophy of always observing ourselves, and there's choices we have. We can choose destruction. We can choose a path that is destroying us, that is damaging us, that is not nurturing us. But that is the yogic philosophy. Take a look, and you have a choice, and you can choose a healing path that starts with kindness towards yourself. And on your mat, you get to practice that. You're challenged. You're challenged to pretzel yourself into all kinds of crazy postures. You're challenged to hold postures for a longer period of time. You're challenged to breathe sometimes and hold your breath. But you are the one who is responsible, and you are the one who is responsible for choosing the healing path. If something doesn't feel good for your individual anatomy, structure, age in life, or story that you hold within because of injury, because of whatever has come along your path, or of just nature as it has put you in life, you make the kind choices. You go the healing path.
Could one say that all of this meditation is very big, is also, or can also, in a way, be a preparation for some unexpected things that might come across your path in life?
Yes.
Something you're not expecting.
Yes.
You gave a very, very interesting TED talk on TED just a couple of months ago. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned how yoga helped you to recover. Without yoga, could you have recovered in that sense?
Probably not. just because yoga, and, as I said, that yoga originally I started because the Sex and the City girls were doing yoga. Over time, I also started realizing that there is a philosophy, that there is a healing path, that there is more to it than just dancing around on your mat and proving yourself in certain postures. There is the patience, there is the slowing down, there is the becoming in awe and surrender. So the healing path that I then got to choose in my big accident is truly taking the step back, focusing on the resolutions, focusing on the health, rather than going down the path of being worried and fearsome, and being able to say, I am creator, I am connected in this body to maybe also a divine power that helps me heal, that helps me balance, that helps me have faith in the possibility of sending. For me, it was building pathways in my body again, of sending blood into certain areas of my body and not being afraid of it, because it's the force of nature. It's nature and it's beautiful, and I can take part of it. And that's the vehicle that we're talking about. But that's also, if we talk about the vehicle that, we walk through life with, but we have a connection to it, and it depends on us how we treat it. And also in terms of meditation, yes, you start becoming aware in meditation that everything is change, and that everything that arises also disappears again. You also become aware that it depends on you how you react to certain situations. I can sit in meditation and say, when is this over? When is this over? There's pain coming. I have other things to do, Or I can be, I'm taking this time, I'm taking a step back, and I'm patient, and I'm observing what's happening here. And as an breath inhales, it also exhales again. And as a sensation comes into your meditation, it also will disappear again, even if it's pain, even if it's impatience, even if it's whatever thoughts, that they will disappear again. So it prepares you for life, that you also know that anything that you ever love in life, you will have to let go. And it's that connection that you build. It's your holding on to it, or being able to make space and let go and learn from it.
Yoga can really help everybody. And one of the very, very good ways of getting to know all about yoga is listening to Annemarie's show, Venus Frequency, on Radio Orange, and a couple of other...
Right before yours.
Yeah, right at 7 o'clock every Friday morning. But Annemarie, how did you get into radio? How did Venus Frequency come about? It's a very good show. It's a perfect place to learn all about yoga. Annemarie, how did radio come about?
Yoga, or Venus Frequency, has evolved with me. It wasn't always a yogic radio show. The funny part is that it was always called Venus Frequency. And the first radio shows I actually did here in Vienna. I lived in America for 21 years, but in between also back in Vienna. And in 1998, just before radio became free, and we also were able to, for example, implement and start Radio Orange, I was invited to do a few shows with the late Hannes Dobelhofer with Ö1, and he was a lecturer at the University of Vienna, to do a few shows on Mittelwelle. I think it was called Mittelwelle 14 something, 82 maybe. And we broadcasted from the Funkhaus. But it was not quite legal yet but the laws were already in place. So I can proudly say that I was kind of part of the pirate radio movement. And we did a few shows. And the first show that I got to do started, and I need to find that track again, with a surf band from California that had that track that started off like with weird noises, being like, wah, wah, wah. And then somebody said, can you hear it? It's the sounds of Venus. And that's how it actually became that the first ever music track that was played was this crazy surfer dude track that had something in relation with Venus, and so it became Venus Frequency. That was 1998. Then I brought it back in America, and we can talk about that if we have time.
Yoga, like everything else, involves great characters. You talk about lots and lots of mystical people. Who are the most important people in this world of yoga, this universe of yoga?
It's hard to say. But the traditional ones, I mean, one of my teachers, and the lineage that I'm in is that we follow Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. He wrote these sutras down about 1,500 years ago, based on the Vedic texts, and kind of combined the knowledge into sutras 195/196. There's debate about that, to make it easy and an eight-step path to follow, compact, kind of like the traditional yoga teachings. And out of that lineage came TKV Desikachar, that brought it to the Western world, and his students were Krishnamacharya and B.K.S. Iyengar and Patabi Choice, and there's different lineages that came out of that hold the tradition and that still hold spirituality. And I follow that path, but there's great teachers like Brian Kest that influenced me today. I have a great teacher in Holland by the name of Sherry Fun. And I go with many others, but I seek somebody who holds the tradition to it. There's a lot of new modern. I mean, if you go into acro yoga or aerial yoga, or even hot yoga, Bikram, they've lost the tradition to it, and they have lost a lot of like the philosophy to it. So yoga is not always equal yoga, like a restaurant is not equal a restaurant. You have different facets of fast food. I can't compare it to a high-end or vegan restaurant. So you have to be discerning, and you have to know what is on your palate. And yoga in the Western world has become very physical, but there's more to it. But also for me in my yogic path, I started in a fitness studio. And later on, through my accident, I also realized that there's more to it, and I can draw from that. And all of a sudden, it took on a new meaning in my life. And I'm grateful that in the fitness studio, as that, I had the first contact, and it brought me on a path that is a lifelong path.
Yoga is the light within us. It's the peace within us. If all of us were to practice yoga, we wouldn't have any wars, would we? We'd all be living as one. Isn't, very, very quickly, Annemarie, isn't yoga, in a nutshell, the secret to world peace?
Yes. And I think that's why it also has become so popular, because in general, it speaks spirituality in a very profound and non-dogmatic way. And the first rule of yoga we have, before we even the eightfold path of Patanjali, has the asanas, the physical practice, as step 3. So there are 2 before that, and those are kind of, like they're yamas and niyamas, and they're the rules in order to even understand that path, because the whole entire yoga practice will give you powers that are a little bit out of the ordinary, but you need to be able to know where they are anchored in. And the yamas and niyamas are the rules of conduct with yourself and with society. And the first yama is ahimsa, and that is non-violence. The opposite of it is love. And in general, if you really, really think about it, if we all would practice ahimsa, non-violence, we would not need any other rules and regulations in this life, in this society. Ahimsa, non-violence, love. you act in a certain manner, you take care of yourself, you give back, you treat everybody in a respectful way, you don't hurt, you don't hold greed, etc., stems out of that. So the first rule of yoga, before you step onto that mat, there are 9 others, but the first one would be ahimsa, and that is non-violence. And here you go, give that into the world, and we would have peace.
But before ahimsa comes something else. The best way to get going in yoga actually is to listen to Veda's frequency. It will certainly fill you up with lots and lots of interesting ideas. Yoga is a universe of surprises and feelings and everything else, something we should all do. Annemarie, could you really imagine anything better than a light of life, peace? Is there anything better?
No. And I think as a society and as humans, we've tried all kinds of revolutions. And this comes from Krishnamurti that you have quoted and gotten into it a little bit when covering my show, which you will do at the end of December again.
Christmas Day,
yes, you will take over the Venus frequency vibrations and waves. But Krishnamurti had that great talk on the only revolution that we have left to really try out is the love revolution, is the giving up wars, giving up greed, because everything else has not worked. And some of us really believe that we are in for I mean, no matter what, like we're in for a great change, no matter what. We're not going back to what society was before. And there's a great opportunity right now to really sit ourselves down and look at it, what love and what light and the path of trust and kindness could actually get us to. And it is possible. And I think that is an evolution in humanity that can save us, not to say that we're in for doom, but we kind of are otherwise. And love is the only revolution left that we have not tried. So let's try it. And it's not necessarily the romantic love, it's the philosophical love, and it's the walking in ahimsa, non-violence.
So we've got ahimsa of non-violence to look forward to. A life of light, yoga, something we really should try. Annemarie of Venus Frequency, thanks very much for talking.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you.
Thank you very much.
Talk 49.